Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and see if we can approve the minutes. Can I get somebody to second the approval of the February 1st, 2023 minutes? Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Do we have any objections to the February 1st, 2023 meeting minutes? Okay, well, if we have no objection, Kyle, I'll say, well, they're approved. Okay. Do we have any public comment? I'm thinking there's no public on the line, so. Okay. Paul, can you hear us?
Yep,
Okay.
I just joined.
All right, we're gonna go into old business. Paul is gonna provide an update at the next Board of Supervisors meeting. Paul, are you still good to do that at the next meeting
Yeah,
on Bamshire?
yep.
Okay. Heather, can you give us an update? You were the one that you were gracious enough to attend the February meeting of the Board of Supervisors. Can you give us an update on what happened when they were talking about the signs? And if anybody needs to see them, can they see the picture I have up here? It's the Goodwin sign, the current sign. I don't know if you could see, this is the current location of the Bamshire sign that is off into the woods. Kind of far off from the parking lot.
Hey, I'm not seeing, I'm seeing the agenda on my screen. I don't know what everybody else is seeing.
I have the agenda.
Me
Okay, can you
too.
see it now?
No, I still have the agenda.
Okay, hold on, let me see. Can you see the,
Yeah, I see you pressing a yellow circle at the top, but I still see the agenda.
it's saying that my screen sharing is being paused. Let me try.
I can guarantee you I haven't paused it.
Okay, well, Heather, if you could go ahead and start, and I'll try to keep working on getting it up.
Maybe you have to take down the agenda and then put up the new one.
I did take down the agenda.
No, it's still there.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
you made it, yeah, stop sharing and, oh, you're there now. Yeah, you took it down now.
Okay, all right, so maybe it's I have to share each screen separately. Okay. Heather, do you want to go ahead and get started? Can you see it now? It's saying it's loading.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, sorry, I
Yes.
was having trouble getting any sound.
Okay. So Heather attended the last Board of Supervisors meeting for us.
Yes. Suffered through a bunch of nerves, but got through it. Paul, I apologize. I did not see your text about the things you wanted me to tell them about volunteering. I mean, I did tell them the amount of the work you've done on Bamshire, and gave you some huge props for that. But I didn't go into the specifics that you had said in your text message. I did not see that until after that meeting.
That's okay.
I went over sort of an outline that Jennifer put together for us, and they, as far as the signs go, they seemed very open to funding signs for Bamshire. And we did not have any numbers for signs for the parking, and I didn't have those specifics or numbers. But I think that if we get back, if we get those numbers and have a proposal, specific of which type of sign we're choosing, then they can better give us the yes or no to the funds. They did ask whether that funding was going to come out of the pro portion of the budget, and I could not answer that because that's not something we discussed or that I have any knowledge about.
Yeah, I think the board will decide that. I mean, where to take it from. They'll probably take it out of the pro budget unless there's a strong reason not to. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, right? So like you said, bring the proposal to the board with the money attached to it, and then we'll have that conversation. It's not going to be that much money, I would hope.
Okay.
Jeff, you had mentioned some pricing. Did you have any updates on pricing?
No, same. I don't know who I talked to and haven't talked to, but I talked to the man who made the Goodwin sign several years ago. If we want to replicate what we had on Banffshire, same type of sign like the sand carving, that would be $3,000.
Is
If
that, Jeff, is that one-sided or two-sided?
one-sided, they're all one-sided.
I would
And the
think we need a two-sided sign.
Okay, and the current Goodwin sign is one-sided, but
Yep.
Question, the sign that's currently at Banffshire, can that be moved?
Yeah, sure.
yeah, and I think that was our hope, is to move it and put it closer to like the actual part of the bridge, but then have something more replicate of Goodwin at the road. Is that what you were talking about, Paul?
Yeah, the sign's in the wrong place, right? And the sign that's there at Goodwin, the one in the middle of the picture, the green and white one, that's a much nicer sign and bigger. They look about the same size in this picture, but the white one's actually much bigger.
Yeah, it is. It's just a trick of the camera. The brown sign is much smaller.
Yeah.
And the language is not, I don't know, doesn't reflect as well as the good one does.
So I would propose we put the new white and green sign, if it's approved, we put it out by the road so that it kind of announces, here's the entrance to the preserve. But as a two-sided sign, you could see it coming either way on the street. If it's a one-sided sign and you have to face it sideways, then you don't see it coming down the street. Like, it's just like when people put a yard sale sign sideways, nobody can see it, right? Until you're on top of it.
And
So
I think
that's why-
if you don't put it sideways, it will block the view. I think there's a way if you could put it, if you put it two-sided, there's a way you could place it so that people could read it from both ways and it won't block you turning out of the parking lot.
Yeah, there's a turning a sight distance triangle that we have to stay out of. So when a car is ready to go onto the road, Jeff knows the particulars, but it's like 15 feet back and 4 feet high. And how many feet long down the road, you can't block that. So we know that we would set it back from that setback so we don't block anybody. But it's just like a sign at McDonald's or a bank or whatever. It's out closer to the road and it faces traffic. It doesn't face sideways. So that's why two sides is best. Then the old metal sign, the brown one that you see, the smaller one, I propose we move that over to Creek Road because you can access and park on Creek Road and there's a trail over there. And so it would be nice to have that metal sign over there. At least there's something to say, hey, you're going to preserve over there. Because right now there's nothing.
Okay.
So that was the proposal. $3,000 is way more than I expected. Jeff, I thought the old single-sided sign at Goodwin, it was under $1,000, wasn't it?
Well, remember how many years ago that was too. And I talked to the same exact gentleman who made this one and the one up on White Clay Crescent.
And he said 3,000.
He said $3,000. He said, if you want a metal one shaped in that oval with those colors, he was saying $1,500. Again, I was operating on a single-sided sign since that's what we have in other locations. So.
Well, I think at those prices, we need to price it around because that's not a very good price.
Well, if you know of someone, please do.
What about your sign guy who made the park sign for the riparian buffer?
Now, remember, that's a metal sign.
Right.
Go ahead.
Who made this the white Goodwin sign, so I don't call the same place. Like who was that?
I believe his name is Eric Anderson. And I'll text you tomorrow the name of his company. I can't think of the name of it anymore.
It's not like a local sign shop or something?
Well, local to me would be West Grove or Avondale. I just can't think of it right now, Paul.
Okay, all right. Anyway,
Okay.
what do you all think? I mean, I think 3,000 for one-sided, so it's probably, 4,000 for two-sided, or I hope it's not double 6,000. That'd be ridiculous. but-
Right, 6,000 would be ridiculous because of all the materials that are involved already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Why-
added.
Why couldn't we have a much smaller sign that just says Banashire Preserve all welcome? Why do we need to have all of this double-sided along the road?
It's a good point. So when we received the grant, we were required to put the wording that's on there, except of course the title. We would change the title to say Banffshire instead of Franklin Township. And then, but Jeff, you make a good point. I was just trying to make them all uniform. The idea was when we did the other signs, and Banffshire had a green, yellow, and white sign like this. I told you before, it was shot by the neighbor and then run over. So
Yep,
it is, I mean, I have it, it's just in pieces, and I don't think it's salvageable, but, we did have the sign, so our idea was every sign we buy, they all look the same, all the preserve entrances are the same. That was the idea.
no, and I understand, but it's just a matter if you want or need all of that by the road versus next to that impressive bridge that you built.
No, I want it by the road so people see it. I mean, down by the
All of that information?
So as I said, when we got the grant, we were required to put that information on it. Now, I don't know if we're required to have it for life or we can change it out and just say Banffshire Preserve. But then we would
Also-
be not having the same sign at every preserve. I don't know if that matters anymore.
So Paul, can we just have the brown sign? You're saying because the brown sign will be on Creek Road, is it possible to, or maybe cheaper to put the brown sign closer to the bridge and put a smaller sign on Creek Road and a smaller sign by the entrance, the main entrance, and have two smaller signs with significant less wording?
I would just put the brown sign on Creek Road and if Jeff just wants Banffshire Preserve by the road, that would be.
And do
That's
we
all I
need to
do.
mention the Pico grant on the new sign?
It's on the brown sign.
The brown sign it says Pico grant on it also? I didn't know if whoever helped with the bridge, or that's specific to the bridge.
No. That's nothing to do with the sign. Don't mix those two up.
Okay.
Yeah, that.
Mine was just an idea to have something simpler. You could have it out of wood, have someone route it. I was thinking of maybe someone like Bill Scalish could create the sign. If, we could pay him, he could give us a price for it. But again, that's just my idea. It doesn't mean you guys need to go with it.
I mean, I think we're all in agreement that $3,000 is too much. I think 1,500 would maybe be the top of the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Paul,
for
it's-
two-
Why
for two
doesn't Paul
sides,
get,
sorry. Good. I was just saying, I think the idea I'm hearing, and maybe if you have less words on it, it's going to cost less, right? I mean, I'm guessing. So we maybe get a price on what a sign looks like with just the words for Banffshire Preserve or whatever couple words you want, and have that on. I agree with Paul. You need to have it on both sides by the road. So you want a two-sided sign and keep it simple with the messages.
Yeah.
Paula, would you mind getting some more pricing? And if you want to, after you get the information from Jeff, I'd be happy to during the workday, make some phone calls too and get some pricing if you want to split it up.
Yeah.
And maybe have an idea of the wording, like what the minimum that we want to put on the sign.
Banffshire Preserve, I guess, is the minimum.
Banffshire Preserve, public welcome.
No, I I don't want public welcome.
Okay, we'll keep the public away.
Yeah. I mean,
Paul's Park.
when you go down to see White Clay Creek State Park, it doesn't say White Clay Creek State Park public well, it's just the White Clay Creek State Park, right?
And then how about, not to move us along, but to force it along, but how about the parking signs, Jeff? Paul and I had talked about that there was some existing signs, Paul, on Creek Road, is that correct?
Yeah, Jeff, I've mentioned this before. There's 2 signs on Creek Road that say no parking this side with an arrow. It's a no parking sign, so like 1 foot by 16 inches maybe, up on a green pole.
Yep,
And they're right at Gary Moore's property line on the end of Creek Road where it's paved.
yes,
My suggestion is you just take them and move them to the parking lot because they're not needed on Creek Road. We allow parking on Creek Road, so I don't know. I've never understood why those signs are there. But take them down and put them up in the parking lot on the 2 sides of the lot we don't want people parking. So the arrows would face each other. One on the back side of the lot, one on the water side of the lot, and they face each other in the corner. And then we have 2 free signs. Is that all right?
yeah, that's fine with me.
Paul, is that something that Eric can maybe help you do? Or are we allowed to take those down, or do we need to have the township remove them and apply them?
Jeff's the roadmaster, he would tell us.
I'm happy to allow you to take them down.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to put anything on you, Paul, but if maybe we could work it out. I mean, I'm assuming they're pretty high up. Do we need a ladder, or can we stand on the back of a truck tailgate?
You have to take the metal post out.
Oh, okay.
You're not going to unbolt the sign and then you have no metal post, right? You have to take the post out.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought they were actually into the tree. I didn't realize they were in thing. Okay, Jeff, so that sounds like it's something more complicated. Is that who would be able to do that, Jeff?
I can make it happen.
Okay. And so then our understanding is that no one would be parking in front of the bridge and no one would be parking on the side opposite the handicap parking spots.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Do you understand the layout, Jeff?
You can write it on a map, Paul, and I'll make it happen.
Okay,
Okay, if you look at the picture with the truck in it, that's where the handicap spot is.
Yep.
So one no parking spot should definitely be across from that. And then the other one should be right, like next to the bridge perhaps. But
Yeah.
I'll let
Whatever you guys want, it's easy. Just scratch it out on a piece of paper and I can do it. It's easy.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Does that sound good, Paul?
yeah.
Okay. All right, so the next thing on the agenda is Heather. Oh, wait, so Paul, it's kind of out of order. I think it was kind of new business. Kyle and I talked about it, but I found it in one of my notes from before that you want to try to get a trail machine for Banffshire.
Yeah, that would be new business, but
And I know it's new business, but I just wanted to bring it ahead because why we're already talking about the park, if that's okay with everybody else.
I don't know if you all have walked Banffshire, in the last year, but maybe 3 years ago, a tree fell and took out a large chunk of the trail, and so it's a very steep part of the trail. On the red trail along the creek, as you're going up a hill, it's a very difficult spot to go up, kind of slippery when it's wet. And so we would need to rent a little trail machine that cut those trails originally to kind of regrade where that spot is. And then a few other spots that, when we laid the trail initially, we need to rework them and realign or recorrect the trail. I'm not proposing making any new trails at all, nothing additional, just fixing what's there to make it safer and drain water better. So I haven't ever rented this machine. When we had the trails cut initially, a guy donated it for us. And so I'd have to find out exactly what the name of it is and what size. And I think Matt Thompson could tell me that, the guy that did all the trails at Franklin Preserve, because he rented one for that. And then find out how much it costs. And then I guess we have to go ask the board for money.
Is that something, Paul, that you could ask Matt before the next board of supervisors meeting?
Yeah. It's, yeah.
And Jennifer, I'll need your report for the board meeting no later than Wednesday at noon.
A week from
March
today.
8th. Yep, March 8th.
Okay. Okay, Paul, so I'll follow up with you. And Paul, if there's any other contractors or places that you think that rent the equipment that you want to give me the numbers or the names, and I'd be happy to try to call and get some additional pricing too.
He rented it from Gap Rental.
Okay.
So I think they're the only ones that have it. And
how long do you think you need it for a whole day?
yeah, but it would be a weekend, so it'd probably be you rent it for the weekend. I don't think they have a Saturday rental.
Okay.
Yeah. So what Jeff just mentioned, we need things to talk about, and first thing you mentioned was I have to give an update on the Banffshire Bridge. And Jeff, I've been working with Christine Langdon at LTL since you gave me her name. I call her every week. I talked to her for a long time, and she doesn't sound like she's gonna be very helpful. Like she's like, well, we don't work for Franklin Township anymore, and I can't give you any information if you're not a township employee. So I'm not really getting anywhere with her.
And what is that? Is that for Banffshire?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I need to finish the project. I have to provide invoices for all money we spent and provide it to the people who gave us the grant. So I have all the invoices except for the LTL engineering work where they applied for our permit from the state, county, and Corps of Engineers.
So Jeff, can Melissa contact LTL? I mean,
Yeah, Melissa's the one who gave me her name. So,
but maybe they need to have. I mean, if they're just being jerks about it, but they did work for us for a while. They should.
Yeah. She's like, look, if you don't have the LTL project number, I can't help you. I was like, well, I don't know what the project number is, because I'm not in the township billing cycle, right, Donna?
Right.
I don't. So I said, maybe ask Pete, but the guy who was the LTL engineer, John Wetzel, I think was his name, Jeff. He's since passed away, Donna. So we can't even call him and ask him.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he passed away. So I actually found an old invoice from LTL on this job, but before what I needed. And I only need October 30th, 2020 and later. Anything before that, I can't apply to the grant. So I found old invoices.
I'm sorry.
And I sent them to this Christine and said, here's an old invoice, but it had no job number on it. I was hoping that would, key in, she could figure it out, but I call her every week, and it's kind of funny because I think the administrator answered the phone feels sorry for me. She's like, well, what's your name?
What's the date range, Paul?
October 30th, 2020 to today.
Oh, gosh.
And of course, we only worked on it for like 6 months after October 30th, right? I don't think LTL has been involved for the last 2 years, right? Just for maybe 6 months after October 30th. But if you find the job number, then she just pulls up that file. The date range is irrelevant. She just gets all the file.
All right, I'll try and help Melissa, and let me look through my old emails to see if I can come up with a date range, something smaller to look for. If I can, we'll still try and look.
It's not, the date range is less important. If you want to help,
Job number. Yeah.
you need the job number.
No, I know, but if the way they're filed at the township or by vendor and year.
Okay.
So I just can't go to the cabinet and say Paul's Bridge 02 and pull everything. It's going to be a manual effort going through their invoices for 2 years.
We'll start
If
at
I knew
the
the
end of 2020.
Yeah, if I knew the job number, Paul, I'd give it to you, but I don't know that or
Anyway,
have that.
I was hoping Pete might be able to help us. I think he liked us. He was good to the township, and I know you guys don't use him anymore, but I thought maybe he could reference the find the job number in his files. I don't know. So Melissa said, not Melissa, Christine said she would ask him, but I never heard back from her. Anyway, so yeah, I need help on that because, and to give the board the update, Donna, I need the financials. You know, I want to have all the costs in order
Sure.
and show them what I'm submitting to the grant people. And by the way, just so you know, Donna, the grant has, the $5,500 has already been received by the township. You know, we have the money, but this is the wrapping it up. And if you don't
we
do
want to,
that,
yeah, we want to do the right thing, close it up the right way. I hear you.
but if you don't, you're not eligible for any future grants.
Right. Well, it's not like you're not trying.
Yeah, it's just
very
untimely that
frustrating.
we got rid of LTL, you know, so it's
Yeah, yeah. But that's just so unprofessional of them to say, well, you're not our client, so we're not going to help you. That's why
yeah,
I think
she said, I'm not a township employee. I said, fine, you know, send it to Jeff. Just send Jeff the information. And then he'll send it to me. But nothing.
And that's fine, but it's just weird because I know Melissa reached out specifically to that young lady. And
Yes,
said
and
that you would be contacting them.
that's correct. And Melissa wrote an email and gave me the email. So I had the lady's name. It's right here in front of me. And
okay. And she's still acting like a jerk.
yeah,
Wow.
Melissa did a good job. She introduced us, right? And so I got the lady on the phone, Christine, and she's like, I've never heard of this. I don't know what you're talking about. I never saw anything. I said, yeah, here's the email to you on Friday, January 27th. And she's like, nope. So it was, anyway, it hasn't gone well. Let's move on.
So just to wrap it up on Bamshire, Paul, you're going to be giving the update and you're hopefully get this paperwork from LTL. Jeff, the signs, you're going to try to find out about removing the parking signs and replacing them. I just wanted to ask, is it possible at that same time that they're doing those signs, Paul, for Jeff to see if somebody could get and remove the brown sign? Because the brown sign is doing nothing right now, and possibly reinstall those right away, reinstall the brown sign right away. Is that possible, or you want to just wait on that?
I would wait to see what we get in signs.
Okay, all right, so we'll hold off on that. Jeff, so if you're
Yeah.
okay with working on the parking signs, and then I will contact Gap Rental about the trail maintenance and the trail machine. Does that sound good?
You're gonna contact Gap Rental, is that what you said?
Is that okay, or do you want to, I'm trying to help you out because I just feel like you're getting stuck with everything.
No, I don't know what the name of the machine is. They have like several sizes and, you know, so I'm texting Matt to see if I can get the number, the size number. It's like a, you know, XYZ 600.
Okay, so if you just, text me and let me know what it is, and then I'd be happy to make the phone
Yeah,
call.
if you call and say, I want the trail machine, they'll be like, you know, what are we
Okay.
talking about?
Okay, so I'll text back and forth with you about the machine. Okay, so moving along, Heather, can we get your update on the porta potties? I keep saying porta potties, porta johns. I don't know what anybody's preference is, but the temporary toilet situation at Crossing Park.
The supervisors have apparently discussed this quite a bit in the past. And they are reluctant at this point to do porta potty, or porta potties plural, probably a porta potty there, because of the likelihood of vandalism, drug use in the porta potties, things like that. The idea was bantered around with Jeff and some others about possibly coming up with a solution for heating the structure, the bathrooms, to the point that pipes would not freeze, and then they would be accessible, not have to be locked off in the colder months. And it was sort of left at that. I think maybe Jeff was going to follow up with somebody and see what the feasibility would be of that.
And so what they're saying, when they're heating the bathroom, they're assuming that they're going to get locked every night, so that obviously there's not vandalism in the in the structure.
So
That's correct. They get locked every night during the spring and summer.
But
Okay.
I'm sorry I wasn't there, Heather, to hear, but maybe Donna or Heather, could you explain why would a porta potty be vandalized? Like,
Because that's what
not a
people,
bathroom?
yeah,
Like
that's
they're-
what they do, right? I mean, they do the picnic tables, like the kids. I don't know if it's kids, but the park, you know this, Paul, because you probably fix a lot of the stuff along with the FSA. They get in there and they ruin things, and I think
Well-
the temptation of having a porta potty and being, tossed or stuff put in there or whatever. It's just,
Knocking it over,
yeah, it could be a real
So,
problem.
so we're not proposing to put the porta potty down by the pavilion where there's nobody around. We're proposing to put it right next to the bathroom. So it's not logical that a porta potty 10 feet away from the bathroom would be vandalized more than the bathroom like that. Why
I
would that
disagree. I think people just, the kids would look at porta potty. The bottom line, you can look at the tape, but the board was not in favor of the, not just me, the full board was not in favor of it.
Yeah,
So-
I'd like to, but explain what our plan was, right? And not put it down by the pavilion, right? Put it up by the building where there's cameras to cover it.
But that was explained. It just, there was no interest in doing that. There was no interest on the board to do it. They don't want to do it. They actually want to look at a different, if anything, you had some members that said, okay, people should manage it on their own. Other members said, well, maybe we can do something as just exactly as it's been reported, to keep the not warm to a toasty 72 degrees, but just keep the current bathroom at a place where we could have it open and
above freezing.
and I think the current ban, at least it's a little more difficult. I mean, they can always vandalize anything, but it's a little more difficult than a porta potty we could tip over. The regular bathrooms are kind of, the fixtures are pretty well, I don't know, tied to cement or whatever it is. Porta potties just look like they have a big target on their back for kids to cause trouble.
I mean, and what time, when did the bathrooms reopen, Jeff?
It's going to depend, it all depends on the weather.
Okay.
I know it's easy to say, but if,
No, yeah,
I would
this
like,
weather is very unpredictable. We had 75 last week and yeah.
I would like to get it energized in the next week or two, and then I've got to treat the well, which is going to take another 2 weeks, week or two, and then we have to get the water test. But right now, I just don't feel comfortable energizing stuff with it being as cold as it is at nights.
But you would think definitely by April 1st, possibly.
I'm hoping that's my goal.
So unfortunately, I think we missed the window. I think Paul and I had talked about this before, like it's almost too late now to get it, obviously, but.
It is, but we should have a plan for next winter, whether it's going to be heating or a porta potty or what. And we shouldn't wait till next fall to start talking about it again.
Right. So I think it's something that we definitely need to revisit. I guess, Jeff, if it's something that, is there a person we need to speak to about the feasibility, or who's the plumber, or who do we talk to about when if we could leave this on straight through the winter?
Well, I had plans of doing that with the gentleman that energizes the park for us. So I didn't want him to make 2 trips.
No, I agree. That would be
Come
great
out
if you
and talk to him, and then maybe we can plan for it for next year.
Jeff,
Okay.
Is there a heater at all in that building, or there's not even a heater at all?
None.
None. All right. So this would be a significant investment, and then the cost of the heating fuel over the winter.
Right. And then
And
is it the added cost of having somebody to have to come back and lock it every night?
Yeah, it's.
Well, look,
Okay.
it's not going to be that much more expensive to lock it at night if we can do that, because we have someone that locks the gate every night. So for him to take 5 more minutes and go
Okay.
up and close the bathrooms, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
But it does sound like a structural challenge, like to add heater.
Yeah. It's a cost.
Again, I didn't think too much about it other than to talk to him to see what ideas he has. So, and maybe something complicated or not. I just wanted to wait and see until we talked.
Okay, so I guess, I mean, we'll just hold off. Probably won't even talk about this at the April meeting, but it's more like an issue for the May meeting. Because by then you'll have spoken with him, and then maybe Donna, do you think there's any change in the board that if we find out that it's thousands of dollars to open the bathroom versus renting a porta potty for $200 a month? And I mean, I think we've talked about this, it's a rental. So if there's something done to it, I'm sure there's some type of deposit, but really, I mean, the porta potty companies, I'm sure, have dealt with this before.
Yeah, so, I always say this, I'm only one of the five, but I was at the meeting along with you. I think it was more, it wasn't a costing, it was more the having a porta potty there. It's just having that concern of vandalism and even just the look of it. It just was not something that I felt
So-
I feel the board wanted. Now, you can come back again. I mean, I can't stop you and I mean, I don't want to stop you. I'm just trying to give you some
Right,
advice.
like if they find out it
come back
costs $10,000 to open it, they might.
Then
be
we,
like,
I mean, what we would probably do nothing. So I think that we would do nothing.
So Donna, is there a chance though that we just try the porta potties? It seems like the risk is it gets tipped over or damaged one time and then we just have it taken away, like no harm, no foul. So it's
So
not
you,
like,
welcome to come back, but so Dawn, you're here.
Yeah.
The sense that I had was that the whole idea of a porta potty that was not a
and
welcome
that's how they've serviced Nickel Park since it opened. You know, it's been 10
And my
years.
understanding, I didn't, so Jeff, help me. I thought there was problems there too, or there's,
And they've had problems with drug use and trash and people doing silly things.
Right, but again, how is that different than a bathroom? Like if you're going to do drug use, why would going in a bathroom be different than going in a porta potty? I prefer the bathroom, frankly.
Because it's
Who-
open,
who's-
it would
who's
be
gonna-
locked at night.
So
Who's
you
gonna
can-
pick it up when it gets tipped over?
So you can lock a porta potty at night. You can put a lock on the door if you want to. And if it's tipped over, you call the porta potty companies, they come clean it up because they'll have to wash it out and put the blue water back in it.
so I don't think it's any point us talking about it anymore here. I think you just, if
Well, I
you
want,
guys
no,
feel,
I want this group to know if they still support it, then I'll bring it up when I'm
Right.
presenting to the board. Because, you know, I also volunteer for the Little League and for, I don't know, 4 years straight, we have 6 porta potties at 4 locations that have never had a problem. Like,
And it's also
Yeah.
been a problem for those playing on the pickleball courts. We've heard some complaints from people. who
yeah,
were like,
I told this group when I
No.
was there 2 Saturdays ago, Donna, 2 women had to leave because they had to use the bathroom. I was like, that's embarrassing. Like what? And we don't want to give them a porta potty because somebody might write in it or tip it over. That doesn't make sense. We're not providing for the users
Well,
of the park.
you may
Or,
not think it makes sense, but that was the sense of the board. Like I said, you're welcome to come back and
Yes,
try again.
I'll
But
do that.
the
Now-
sense was not
now,
positive.
if we were trying to put a porta potty down by the pavilion where the drug exchanges are going on, that's a bad idea. That's terrible. I wouldn't support that. But up at the building, under the cameras, you could lock it at night if you want to. I think it's a great idea. And it would be in between the planters, so it's blocked by the wind and it's 10 feet from the bathroom.
I
So-
also think that there's an option to, I mean, I've had to do this for my work before. I mean, you can put some sort of temporary fencing around it. So if it's a visual thing, if aesthetically you guys don't like the look of
Yeah.
a porta potty up there,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason we couldn't just use some inexpensive fencing and, you know, and, you know, just hide it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think visually it's worse to have to watch. It's not fair that the guys get to just go off in the woods, but we've seen people like walking off into the woods. The pickleball players, I watch the basketball boys, they play on the court and they walk over into the woods. And I would much rather see a porta potty than a bunch of teenage boys peeing in the woods.
Well, like I said, bring your ideas to the board. If you have some ideas about camouflage, bring those ideas too. So I think come back. Like I said, I'm only one person. Dawn, do you want to
No, and
comment?
I don't mean, yeah, we're not after you, Donna. It's just that
No,
we
I
felt-
know you're being fine. You just want information so you know how to present it again.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we felt pretty strongly about it just based on the fact that we really want to make Crossan Park a year-round park that's available to the public and that people want to continue and that we don't want to see people peeing in the woods. So
And
okay, I think Oh.
Dawn, do you want to
No,
comment?
I was there and it fell like a thud. So I understand it did not go over well.
and we
But-
thank Heather for taking the brunt of that.
I
No, we
know,
weren't
but
mean. We're not mean.
I know, we're not me, but
Don't scare Heather.
I think we should follow up on all the avenues, and I think we should follow up really heavily on the regular bathrooms and seeing if that's a feasible alternative to keep the bathrooms open.
And I would obviously be open. I would much rather use an indoor bathroom, but I agree with Paul. I just think that
Right.
that the structural problem is going to be so expensive, and we obviously wouldn't want that to be taken out of the pro budget. when
Right.
we-
No,
we're gonna
that's
get-
true.
Yeah, so, okay, all right, well,
Right.
moving along, I think we need to get some additional information. If Jeff would like to, could talk to the plumber when he comes out for the other stuff, that would be great. For the Pico Trail, moving along to the Pico Trail, Jeff, did you have an update? I have it here on my notes, and I think Kyle had written it up that you were gonna catch up with, someone was gonna catch up with Matt. about
We
the-
we haven't had time yet.
Okay. Okay, so if Kyle, if you could just put that in the notes that we're gonna revisit that again at the April meeting. Okay, Dawn, can we put you on the spot to talk about the little libraries? I do have your
Absol-
emails.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm gonna try
I've
to share the screen.
I've talked to Bob Mantis, and he's the FSA leader of the builders. And he's got 2 plans, and we're hoping to get 3 plans of different types. And he's going to bring forth all the costs, and he'll bring them over to Jeff. I talked to him 2 nights ago. And if we can get 3 of them approved, we're potentially saying one at the garden, one at the tot lot, and one over at the township building by the big sign and the dumpsters. So if we can get that going, he's going to bring us the cost for everything. And then what we could do is, because they'll all be different styles, we can take little pictures and make a rack card of the different libraries and kind of make a library trail, because we already have 2 in the township that are private. But that would be 5 little libraries in the township that people could have access to.
Okay, and I hate to be are we worried about, I mean, I feel like this has kind of just been the topic. Are we worried about vandalism with any of these? I think you had mentioned that in one of your emails about vandalism, but maybe there's a certain style that's better.
Well, no, not the style. I talked to Jeff, and the one that's at the gate of at the garden has a camera on it. And there's a place at the corner of the tot lot that Jeff says there's a camera. And of course, over at the township, I don't think anybody'd bother it back in there. So I think we did discuss that, and both the ones over in the park would be under camera surveillance.
Okay. Is it something, we feel bad asking you this, but is it possible, Dawn, that do you mind keep pursuing this? Does anybody have any additional comments about I mean, I think we obviously support them.
I absolutely love it. And I'm just going to try to find out, the cost, and whether one of them he's looking at is cedar. So that might need staining or something, but the FSA guys have stepped forward to help build these. So I'm thrilled to pieces about that. And he's going to use as much scrap as he can to put them up. He's got some posts he thinks he can use. And I did contact the library lady, and they are interested in putting us on the schedule for a reading program. I don't know how often yet, and I don't know what days yet, but I can find that out for us. And I think, did you see the thing about the volunteers for the garden?
Yes, I did. I saw your Facebook post, and I saw your email, and have you gotten any interest?
Absolutely, I have, from Facebook and stuff. So I talked to Jeff today, and we're going to try to put together the first meeting, Zoom meeting, and if I can get some people to come to the township, I'll try. But on Friday, March 10th at 3:00.
Yeah, so just a comment, the board, even though we didn't vote on it, Dawn's done a really good job of talking to everybody, and there's a strong sense of support for what she's doing. We just need to get a dollar amount so we can say yes, spend the money. But I think what I would say to the pro, if you have a strong objection, you should let her know. But if you're not, if you support it, I would predict that this is something that's definitely happening. It seems to be moving along on its own momentum. So if you're not happy with it, you should say something now, because if not, I think it's just gonna.
No, I think it's a wonderful idea. I feel like Dawn has put so much work into it, that, you know, obviously it would be weird for somebody else to try to like interject. I think that if Dawn's okay, and doesn't mind us letting her continue. The only thing I would say personally is we have an old tree house that we took down that has a lot of the type of wood, that could be used for something like that. So Dawn, if you
Oh, that's awesome.
interested in something like
Okay,
that, let me know.
okay.
But then,
I'll let-
So, and you're just infectious. I mean, people just come to you with stuff.
no, I just really want I want the old treehouse cards to go away, but my
You want
husband
to go? Okay, well, it's a
Yeah.
win-win.
recycle,
That's
recycle.
That would be very cool. Well, I'm hoping that we can decorate them and have it be like a trail. And if we just put 3, I mean, I could see there being more and more at different places in the township so that, you know, we could have a big trail of them. So I think it would be a lot of fun.
So, Dawn, I like the idea and I'm glad you're on top of it. Hope you can complete it. And 2 comments is instead of spending the money on it, is it possible to have it as a Boy Scout project and have a Boy Scout build it?
Well, the FSA is all over it and they want to do it. So they jumped forward right away and volunteered for me.
Okay.
So I kind of felt like a bird in hand was, and they've been amazing about it.
And then the other one is the little libraries that are on the private property, you know, obviously the owner maintains them and cleans them out and restacks the books and everything. But if it's on our property, who's going to take care of it, so to speak? Like who's going to?
Dawn Dowling and the garden volunteers.
Okay, good.
And so that the only money really that would be needed would be any materials that are not donated and the books, or I'm assuming books you can get.
Correct. But Bob, we have 2 leads. We have somebody at Lowe's that might be, you know, helping with the cost, and we are pursuing somebody at Oxford Feed and Lumber so they're looking into donations of materials or discounts of materials also. But I will tell them about the treehouse.
My husband will be saved if you can get rid of it. It's been sitting against our shed for 5 years. So, and then my other question is just how will they be placed? Will they be put into the ground with cement? I mean, I see a lot of people like it's almost like a mailbox post.
That's a good question, but I'm leaving it up to the guys. And yes, it is kind of like it's a post, and he's got some posts left over from some other jobs. And he said he was all about saving money too. So I think I'm not sure how they do it physically, but.
Okay. And then my only last question would be that, Jeff, do you have any objection? Is this something that would be in the way of maintenance or them cutting the grass?
I think we can make it work.
Okay.
I'm not worried about it.
Okay. I don't know that we need to vote on it. Does anybody have any objections or any additional comments?
When
Okay.
I had one more thing. When I talked to Bob, he had you guys mentioned before, I thought I heard somebody say something about a trellis at the entrance of the garden and a sign. Had you guys talked about that before?
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
Boy Scout project.
Yeah. Greg had mentioned
Alright.
that, I believe, in the December meeting that we were hoping to do that.
Okay, so with his possible return, that might still be a project?
No, it's still a project in that if we have a Boy Scout come to us asking for an opportunity, we would assign them that project or give it to them as an option anyway.
If somebody was to step forward ahead of a Boy Scout, would you let them do it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, because I mentioned it to Bob just in passing, but I said I was going to ask you at the meeting tonight. So we'll just leave that on the back burner.
Okay. I think that would be great. Yeah. If somebody wanted to integrate that and make it look uniform with the library and work on it as one project, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, and Yeah, that's good.
And then so Dawn, and then I think I put other notes, just trying to group people together. You have your events for the Friends of the Healing Gardens, and then you were going to work on the plant swap. Is that something you're still interested in doing?
Absolutely. So when we have our meeting week from Friday, that'll be one of the things that'll come up.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, and then Paul, I have on the agenda next to talk about volunteer and work days. I'm just going to rattle them off because I don't know if you have the agenda in front of you, but we still need a tractor to put gravel mulch around crossing, the trees in crossing. We have volunteer opportunities with the Natural Land Trust at Peacedale Preserve, and we still need to have the tubes reinstalled at Goodwin Preserve. Those are
Correct.
all still kind of at the top of our list of volunteer things that we need to accomplish. And you said that the cross and tree gravel mulch, that we really need to get done before April.
Yeah, when the grass starts growing, right? Once the grass starts growing, it's kind of too late. You'd have to remow or weed whack. Weed whacking is the hard part, right?
Do we have any members who would want to lead the initiative for any of those? Or have any thoughts?
Well, we need a tractor. And Matt had volunteered his tractor back in December or something, but I haven't heard from him lately.
Okay. If you're going to follow up with Matt about the that piece of equipment, it's same Matt?
Yeah, same Matt.
Okay. I feel bad that we're like putting a lot on this Matt. Like Matt has to do that, and he's supposed to talk to Jeff about the Pico Trail. So we really need Matt to be at the next meeting. Okay. So then I have on the agenda next trees around the township building. I had met with Jeff. I had been back and forth with Greg about the grants, and it's something that I guess, we don't have to spend a lot of time on, but I'd like to try to just see if anybody has any thoughts about it and something just to put off in the future. Maybe Heather, did any of the board members at the Board of Supervisors meeting have any comments about adding trees around the township building?
Yeah, I don't think that was brought up, but we
No, it
have
wasn't.
been, yeah, we so Jeff, we have talked about that around the where the salt shed is and that area. Is that where you're talking, or is it another area around the township?
Let
I
me see
was
if
thinking, go ahead.
Oh, I was seeing, I actually had at one point had, I have too many different screens open now. I meant to try to keep it organized, but I actually had the map at one point. Let me see if I can find the map. No, you don't. wanna see
Donna,
the-
I was thinking like around the back of the office and in
Okay,
that
I mean,
open area we have. And again, this is just an idea. Doesn't mean it's a good one. I like trees. So if we could have those, I
Are
would be
these-
happy.
are
Maybe
these
no
the
one
little-
else wants them.
Jeff, are these the little trees, what we planted in Crossing Park, or are these like big trees that cost like, I don't know, like dollars, like 50, 60?
Well, I would imagine they would be the smaller ones
Okay,
if
all
we're
right.
using grant.
I'm
and
sorry.
then
Yeah, I get
I
that.
don't know how many,
Yeah, so I was thinking.
and I don't know how many people would want.
Yeah, my mind wasn't in the right theme. So we were talking about bigger vegetation around the salt shed. So I think we're talking about the types of trees like we planted across in Park with Paul. Then it's a whole other theme. And like I said,
Yes.
we didn't talk about it, but I don't think you're going to get a big pushback if that's what you want to do.
Okay, and so Greg had given me some ideas of some other grants that are specific to that. I think we did, I guess Jeff and I had talked about some bigger trees, but it wouldn't necessarily be all the same thing. So I think it's like a bigger plan. I can't find the map right now, but it was attached to the Board of Supervisors paperwork, Donna. It was a map that had some of the spots drawn on it. It was in the pamphlet.
Wasn't it along the back fence and
It was a
behind
bunch
the
of-
building?
Yeah, there's a couple different sections, drawn on that map that Jeff had provided me.
The bigger ones could be if someone wanted to do a memorial tree, not that they would want to plant one at the township office, but it could be an option to plant them there, to have people plant them there.
I think we could make a really nice a nice garden, and if we could put a gazebo or something out there by Donna's garden, by the rain garden, you could do classes out there or picnics, or you know, you could make that a really nice area back over in the side and the back.
And I think that's what Jeff and I were talking about. Like, there's so many different options. So I think I was going to look at some grants and see what's something that might be eligible. And it might be, you know, we might have to start in different areas. The spot behind the post office might be great for the smaller trees. Some of the
Right.
locations closer to the actual township building might be larger trees. I like the gazebo idea. So there was other ideas. It was just that, you know, I didn't know if the township had any, the board of supervisors had any particular opinion. And then I thought there was some discussion about expanding the township building. So I think like I was waiting to hear about that too, like to see if.
Well, it won't, the building won't be expanded. The footprint of the buildings is the same. It's just that we
It will
would-
be.
Right.
And I guess my only,
You would take some of the part that's storage now and turn that into an actual building, like, do you know what I mean? So.
right, and so my only concern would be, we wouldn't want to be planting trees very close to the building if there was construction going on. And so it might be, we might need to start, you know, behind the post office first and then pick other areas depending on what's going on. Because we wouldn't want, you know,
And-
obviously trees to be
And
down.
Jennifer, if you
Yeah.
look at the post office down Appleton Road, right along that pasture, how Matt and Kathy put in those trees right along the fence line there and planted those flowers, you could bring that around behind the post office and up to the township property. Matt and Kathy would help you. They bartered to get those trees and stuff for that right along their fence line there.
Okay,
So, you know, Kathy and I are really good friends. So if, you know, if you want to start working on that property behind the post office, that would be an excellent way to start.
okay, and that may be something I look into some grants and see, you know, what the different options are. And Greg had been sending me some stuff, and hopefully when he gets back, he seems to, him and Paul, to be our tree guru, so we could, you know, work on that. And it could be an ongoing thing that we work on. I don't want to get so distracted by that we don't get some of the things that like have to be done. Like we really need to finish like the cross and park trees. Like we need to keep making sure we
Right.
finish the stuff we started before we move on. But okay. So
If
Go
I
ahead,
could
Paul.
comment, some of the trees you're talking about, Dawn, that are along the fence are kind of ornamental trees.
Oh,
And
no, I know that. Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah.
So if we did that pattern where you plant some nice, you know, spaced out ornamental trees as an edging or whatever, it's highly unlikely we would get a grant for that. Like the grants are for reforestation of Pennsylvania. So, you know, planting.
No, I got that, but I
Yeah.
said maybe Matt and Kathy would help bring it around the
Right.
corner there along
Sure,
where
yeah.
their fence line is, because they
Right.
barter to get some of those trees. So
okay, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Paul. We have to look at the grants and see what we would be eligible for, and I'm sure there'd be specific requirements.
They want
Sure.
reforestation.
Oh, sure.
And,
No, I
and
didn't think we'd get them for those.
And unfortunately, the township is not in the White Clay Creek watershed. So it's in this odd little spot where it's actually the Christina watershed, and I don't think it's the Elk. And there's not much action in the Christina actual basin. You know, there's not much grant opportunity there, but there might be. You never know. Because I tried to get some trees on Elbow Lane, and the guy just, none of the grants applied to him. So I assume the township's in the same position. Anyway, but if we, you know, the township wants to pay for it, or Kathy can come up with some, yeah, that's great. Then just one more comment. You know, I like the idea of a gazebo and that, but I always am a little bit leery of more structures that require maintenance. So if there's not a real demand for it, you know, I'd rather put a gazebo at the park where it's highly likely to get used, but I doubt any residents are going to come and have a picnic next to the salt shed. Like, it's just not, you know, it would be good for the office employees, you know, they might like that, but that wouldn't be something for the park group to do, I think. That's something for Jeff to decide.
And everybody kind of agrees that we wouldn't want to do a whole lot by the township building until some construction is decided. I wouldn't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to. So, okay. All right. So, the ongoing issue of the open space brochure letter, I don't think Mary is on the call. But we have the letter that Andrea worked on. I'm going to try to share again. See if I have any better luck sharing. Paul, would you like to be shared first? If I were to share the brochure first, the question and answer, or the letter?
Oh, no, I don't care. Yeah, go with the letter because that was supposed to be the introduction, right?
Right. Okay. So, can you see, I don't know, can you see the two letters side by side, or you can only see the one letter?
Yeah, what's the red lines?
So that is Donna sent some track changes. So
Yeah, I just try to simplify a little bit. There was a lot of semicolons and I kind of turned them into,
and I'm not going to deny the fact that I like a good semicolon. So, but I also like Donna's letter.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just didn't want it to seem list-like that, I mean, I think we're trying to make a lot of points and you're going to get a lot of points in the, I don't know. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters that much really.
Okay. So if you don't mind, if you guys just be patient with me for 1 second, I'm going to stop sharing Donna's letter first. And I'm going to first share Andrea's version. I just think I had shared.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's just my opinion. It's just they're just editorial comments, but I think you should start with
Okay. And I really had hoped that it was going to let me share both at the same time because I have a large screen, but I don't think it's letting me. Can you see, is it still Donna's version?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me try to stop sharing again and see if I could pull up just.
Is there an option where you can just share the monitor and then anything you put on it gets shared?
Yeah, for some reason it's only letting me share my screen, but
Hmm.
really thought I had figured this out today. But
No, I think you should share Andrea's. Don't make it difficult. And then you guys
Okay.
can decide where you want to take it when you
Yeah,
get
I see now that you guys had a lot of back and forth. I'm sorry, I haven't caught up on those emails.
that's okay. And I think Donna's changes work. I'm going to actually still look at Donna's changes. So do we have Andrea's version? Andrea, is this your version? I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
okay.
that's my version.
Okay. And so I'm pulling up, and you guys can't see it, but I can tell you what the track changes are, that I have Donna's version next to me, but it won't let me share both at the same time. So Andrea, do you mind just reading it?
Sure.
And I will interrupt you with Donna's changes as we get to them.
Sure. Dear property owner, Franklin Township's Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Board would like to assist landowners who wish to learn more about their options to preserve their property. A preserved farm remains your private property.
Okay, and then so there was a track change here. Donna was just suggesting that we end it with would like to assist landowners who wish to learn about their options to preserve their property, period. And she
Yeah,
said,
I deleted it because you say it later on, and I thought it was just being redundant. That
Okay.
was saying here.
go ahead, Andrea, I'm sorry.
No problem. We would like you to be aware that development of your land is not the only option for the future of your property. Information is available on ways to preserve your family farm or land in perpetuity through an easement.
Right, and I just made it 2 separate sentences. I don't see this. I just don't like semicolons, but go ahead.
Easements can help you extract value from your land while allowing you to continue owning and farming it. Easements are always voluntary. You may be compensated financially for the easement, or it may involve you as the landowner providing a donation.
Yeah, and I found that confusing, providing a donation. So I try to fiddle with a little, like, I don't know if I'm afraid someone's going to think that we're asking them to spend money. Like, well, no, it's like the value will be a donation. So I think that needs to be worked on. That I just think it can be interpreted wrong.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that donation note is not even included. I mean, maybe, if once we kind of get into the nitty gritty with somebody, once they kind of are going through the process, we could explain that. I mean, I don't know, Paul, or,
Well, I think the point that there's a potential for a tax benefit. You want to say that, but maybe you don't link it with a donation. But I think it is important to say that this could result in some kind of tax refund or tax benefit. Refund's not the right word, but it could result in a tax benefit. And I don't know. There must be a way to say that.
Okay, and so this is the way Donna wrote it. Easements are always voluntary, period. You may be compensated financially for the easement, comma, or you, as a landowner, could approach the easement as a donation, which could result in tax benefits.
Could approach the easement, is that what you said?
Yeah, or you could view it or somehow, or could utilize, you got to get the right word, but could view it as a donation that would allow you to have a tax benefit.
Or maybe saying the landowner's donation of the easement could result in tax benefits.
So
Well,
it's just,
let's
Yeah.
just, how about we keep going and come back?
Yeah.
to
Okay.
it?
Go ahead, Andrea.
Donations may result in tax benefits. Easements can help you extract value from your land, but still allow you to own it and continue farming. Property owners with 10 or more acres are encouraged to learn more about conservation easements or agricultural preservation programs.
and I had another comment too. We keep on talking about own it and continue farming. I think that gives the impression that it's only for farming. So, and I don't know, I'm not saying this is the right way to handle it, but I kept on saying and or, so own it and or continue farming. I think we don't want to just, it's not just about farming, right? It's about,
Well, you could say continue farming or using your land and using your land.
yeah, that's something like that, yeah. But it's just,
But-
it's,
I was okay with the farming. I saw that too. But I was okay with it. I mean, but
I think there was another version that listed it differently, Paul.
yeah,
I do
I
think
know.
there was a version that had and or, and I
Yeah.
do agree if we were to just say something like just continue utilizing your property.
that's, yeah, that's good. That's general, but
Continue
it doesn't.
farming or utilize.
Right.
I mean, I think the majority of properties that we're targeting are farms. So whether it's a
Okay.
horse farm or a vineyard or a crop farm, you know, most of it's farming. There's very few properties that are over 10 acres and they're all woods. You know, that's-
So I did, I did have one comment that I am pretty strong about, and you can listen to it now or you'll hear it when it comes to the board.
Yeah.
I don't want us putting that you can contact the township office. Jeff and Sarah, I mean, Jeff and Stacy and Melissa are up to their eyeballs, just doing the normal work of the township and just do not have the time or effort to deal with these phone calls, even if it's only one or two, they just don't have the time. So I'm happy for the email address. I mean, this is one of five, I'm not the board, but you know, the email address and maybe you provide a link or somehow get that information to via that Franklin Township email address. But I would strongly,
Donna,
push
the only
back.
thing I feel like is we had talked about the phone number and I might be speaking out of turn, but I think Jeff was okay with it. And I guess
No.
my argument.
No,
no, it's not.
No, he's not.
No.
Okay, I thought, I
No.
apologize, Jeff. I thought you were okay with it. I guess my only thing is, I do feel like it'd be only one or two phone calls. But there are some people of a certain age that are not gonna feel
Yeah.
comfortable using.
That's my concern too.
Yeah, but no,
And
the
I
good thing
honestly-
is you gave them the option. I think this was brilliant, whoever did this, to say, come to a pro meeting. We-
So.
And I thought that
yeah,
was
so-
good.
Well,
Well, if I could just finish my thought, Paul, I just feel like there's a certain age of people and the people who are, you know, I would say 50, maybe even 60 and older who call, you might get one phone call. And I feel like, you know, that might be the one time that person's ever called the township. And so that's the very least of like, if you're a member of the township and you're calling to ask a question, I mean, we're here to serve the township. So if that one person calls and it's just one phone call, I feel like I mean, I'm sure you get more annoying phone calls about trees and potholes and stuff. If the person calls about, you know, but it would be very discouraging if we miss out on somebody because they're a certain age because they don't want to use email or can't
Well,
make it to a meeting.
I
I'm
also
telling you,
don't think we necessarily want someone at the township building giving them the information. You might just say, you know, whoever picks up the phone may say, I don't have that information for you. There's a packet here you can come pick up, or just kind of like, you know, so you're addressing them. You're not kind of leaving them out there. But I mean,
Yeah,
So
take,
I'm telling you right now, if this comes before the board, I won't support that. I mean, I'm not going to throw the letter out, but I will, one of five, you can overrule me, but I will not support that.
so Donna, let me be clear then, the risk of getting two phone calls, but possibly preserving acres of land is not worth it to you because of the overwhelming risk.
I
of
won't,
two
I
phone
won't
calls.
support it. I'm telling you how busy they are. They don't need it. They don't need any more work than what it is. So
And
I'm
what-
happy,
and
I'm
what
happy
would we-
putting this thing on a website. I'm happy having
Alright.
the.
Jeff,
So-
could we get your input? What, do you have an alternative or another suggestion, Jeff?
I know not everyone's gonna like it, but I agree with Donna. We have too much stuff to do. So whether you guys create a packet that they can pick up at the office, that's fine. We could make something on the website, that's fine too, and on Facebook.
So,
But if they called the number, could you tell them? I mean, are you saying that maybe whoever's working in the township building would be unwilling to say, I don't know that information, come pick up a packet that's for the pro board members to explain to you? Is that too much?
No, I'm not saying it's too much, but usually 2-minute conversations turn into 20-minute conversations.
Yes, no, I understand that.
so, and even, not even pick up a package, I love that idea, but also, hey, could I get your information? I'll have someone from the pro board call you back. And
Oh,
that's.
so here we go. So now we're into, can I have your information? And then they have to pass it on to the pro board. No, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much stuff
Okay.
to put on them.
All right, because I know I'm very frustrated when I click a link on a website or something and it says, find out more here. And then they say, send your email question to us to this blind hole. You'll never hear back from us again, because that's usually what happens, right? So,
And
How
Donna, that's what
about,
we had
how-
mentioned setting up a specific email for this, and the township, and I feel like it was at the last meeting, we said, could we have a specific email that said,
I like that idea.
open
Well,
space?
the
We brought that up
info-
and that was shot down. That
how
was shot down.
about,
Not by me.
How
I think that
about-
was a great idea.
how about we have a thing on the phone system now that says, if you want to talk to Jeff, you dial this. If you want to talk to push this, push this. How about if you had a phone answering number? You know what I'm saying?
If there's a question for the pro board, leave a message here. But the question is
Correct.
who's managing that voicemail box, I guess,
Well,
right?
then
Is it something that, we're checking once a week? Someone's checking once a week. It gets checked right before our monthly meeting. I mean, how does that get managed?
Well, and Jeff, is that something that if someone had to just take down a message from the voicemail, because you're avoiding that a 20-minute phone call because somebody can only just leave their
No.
name and number?
No, I won't support that either. No, I don't want them involved at all. I think if the pro board, if you have that and the pro board wants to pick up the message, that's fine. If you guys want to manage the phone. And once again, it's only me. You gotta still get to see.
yeah,
So I have my
I would
opinion.
like to, we got to move on. I would like to thank Donna for her comments, and she's one of 5, and clearly we don't have Donna's vote. We don't have her support for open space, but if you
No, not for
can't-
open space, not for this sentence. I'm.
Let me finish, Donna. If you can't even support 2 phone calls to the board, to the township, to just pass on somebody's name or give them a packet, then you clearly don't support open space.
Okay, so
And
Paul,
if-
let me
and if
stop you
we
right
don't-
there.
And if we don't
Let me-
have,
Okay.
if we don't
okay,
have
okay,
3 votes, if we don't have 3 votes to allow
We lose sound?
So Paul, you went, but that's an unfair comment. That's just an unfair comment to make.
Okay, I think Paul, can you hear us?
Yeah, Jeff muted me. So if we don't have 3 votes to the board, then I think we should just give up on the open space effort. Like,
Okay, well, I don't want to do that. I think that, Paul, if you don't mind presenting this, the only thing I want to add is, I know we did ask about a separate email and that was shot down last month. Is that,
So Jen, who shot it down? I'm sorry, maybe I missed it, but I
I'm not
don't.
gonna name specifically, we had just said, could we possibly have pro@franklintownship.us, and it was mentioned that it would just be easier just to keep it as info, and that if
Yeah.
information went to info, it would be forwarded to us.
Okay, so, but it wasn't shot, so was it, when you say shot down, was it the pro said not a good idea? I just want to be clear,
I think it was mentioned that would just be more complicated.
but the
Then-
pro said that, right? It's not,
I think I got that impression from Jeff probably, but I'm not 100% sure. But I don't want to make their job any harder, but I definitely think if we could, if Paul doesn't mind talking to the rest of the Board of Supervisors, I just feel like we feel very strongly about this, and I do worry that an email alone would be very restrictive to a certain age group. And unfortunately, or
Yep.
fortunately, you know, it's an older crowd that probably owns this land that we're interested in.
But it's not only just the email, but you also have the option to come to a pro board meeting. So that's also there.
And I don't know, I don't know that 60 and 70-year-old people are going to meetings at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and they're not going to log into Zoom, that's for sure, right? Because that's how we're meeting.
I don't know. I'm 65. I'm pretty zoomed. So I don't know. So Jeff, was there a comment about the email address? Was that feedback? Did you suggest it just stick with
I
it?
had made a comment that info may be easier. If they want pro@franklintownship.us, it may be a couple $1 a month charge.
Yeah.
I would just do it.
Yeah.
But
and then I
who's
would go
gonna,
right to you guys.
I like the info because it's being checked regularly. And since we don't have a fixed leader right now and our leadership changes every couple of years, then someone would always have to be turning over that address, but info is always covered by the township.
Well, see, that's another, no, it shouldn't be. So you guys should be covering it. Right. So we'll have this discussion at the board meeting. I don't want the township staff having to be involved. It should go to you guys. So if it means
Okay.
that we find a
Jeff,
way to get this
Jeff,
information to you.
as a compromise, Jeff, just, you know, so we can move forward. If we were to use Dawn's suggestion and there was, and I know Dawn is not a fan of this, but if Dawn's
Right.
suggestion were to be that we had, you know, press 5 to leave a message for the pro, would that be too burdensome on Melissa to take the message and pass it along to Paul or someone?
I'll talk to staff tomorrow about it. I can't say yes or no tonight.
Okay, I do agree with you with the 20-minute phone call, but if it's a message, it would obviously limit it and it would be just getting a name and a number from the message.
I just want to avoid staff having to interpret a phone call from an
No, and it
owner.
would be clearly within
Typing it
instructions of
and then
just to get a
sending
name or
to-
number.
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't want any of the staff having to answer any questions related to this.
Right.
We
Or
want the
interpret it.
information.
We don't want any false interpretation.
All we need are, you know, given to us is a name and a phone number so that we can make the call back to somebody. And I mean, I think, you know, we've got, you know, whether it's the info at Franklin Township or pro board at Franklin Township, or, I mean, you know, we just need somebody, you know, that is regularly checking one of these email addresses that can, you know, pass that information along, and we can decide, you know, amongst ourselves who calls the person back and gets them information. But there has to be more than just, you know, if you want more information, attend a Zoom meeting. I mean, we need to give people options to contact us.
I just don't know that somebody who wants to donate their land, we want to in any way discourage them. I mean, if they say they want to donate their land, I will pick them up and bring them to the meeting. Like I will bring them to a board of supervisors meeting if that would help, but I just don't want to have any chance that we would miss a lead.
Agreed.
So, okay. All right. So the letter is the letter. Let's move along, and I'm going to try to, I'm going to stop sharing the letters. And if I could try to go ahead and then share the brochure. Does everybody have the brochure up in front of them?
Yes.
Okay. And we've gone over this several times. I think, Kyle, could you go over the last few changes that were just made?
The only change that has been made is on the top left. We just left it Franklin Township Preserve Land, and with just the picture, we took out that Franklin Township has preserved the following land. And then we wrote what can you do to support this effort? We changed that. So it's volunteer, may involve a donation from the landowner, or you may be compensated.
Okay. And so obviously then the phone number will still be at issue.
Yes.
I actually had my husband look at this, and he was the one that said Franklin Township has donated the following land. And we took into consideration what you had said, Donna, and I had like some other people look at it and to see, you know, to make sure it didn't look like this was something that only Franklin Township was doing, but that it was involving other places.
Right.
And that was his recommendation, was that if you wrote Franklin Township has preserved the sign, it seems like it's something only Franklin Township's doing and not involving these other entities. And then we feel like this is generic enough, but lets people also know that this is Franklin Township working with other people and that, you know, that there's other ways, but this would obviously go along with the question and answer.
Right.
Does anybody have any insights or input? Obviously, the phone number is still an issue.
I do have one question, and I know in a lot of places we refer to ourselves as the pro board, and other places it's the pro committee. I think we need to make sure that it is consistent throughout. And so, can we decide whether or not we want to note in all of this, whether we're the committee or the board?
Okay, I'm gonna look
Maybe
at
that doesn't matter to anyone. I mean, but I think for consistency's sake, it might be a conversation to have.
So we are technically in the ordinance, the Park, Recreation, and Open Space Board.
Yeah.
So
And that's
I'm
how
not
we
sure.
refer to you in our meeting minutes also as a board.
That's a good point, Andrea. I see we use both, and
Yeah.
So you're reading it right from the ordinance,
Right from the
Jennifer?
ordinance, section 1 of the Code of Ordinance of Franklin Township is hereby amended to add the following provisions creating and governing a park, recreation, and open space board. So I
Good.
guess that's a very good point, Andrea, and I think it should probably be reflected. Is that a huge pain, Kyle, to fix that, to change all committee to board?
No, because I gotta do the address, the email and the phone number eventually.
Okay, all right, so that's something that we should note, that it should definitely say board.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna stop sharing that and then share the question and answer.
Thanks for putting the brochure together, Kyle. I like it.
Yeah.
And the only thing that was changed here was in the introduction for further questions related to the land, you know, we changed that. So I'll change that to board and then do whatever with the phone number and the email.
Well, if you could though, just change the committee to board.
Yeah, I just said that.
And then just send out a version like that, because I'll need to bring something to the Board of Supervisors, right? So just change the board. And then
Kyle, if you don't mind updating, that part, because when I prepare the document, so Jeff, you said on the 8th. So Kyle, I will provide these updated versions to Jeff. Jeff, you would like that as part of the stuff to go into the binder, right? The updated versions?
Correct.
But
And
we
he
won't
certainly,
have the phone number and the email.
Well,
So
right, but
why-
that's still gonna be an issue to be discussed when Paul
Yeah,
meets.
so why update it if it's going to have to be changed again?
That's okay. Is that okay, Paul, with you, if you just mentioned to them that it is gonna be, yeah,
Yeah, keep it the way it is and then make the changes after you meet.
okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I can even try to highlight those sections, Paul, so that when it comes
No,
up.
don't.
No,
don't
I mean,
highlight
just the
it.
word board, I was gonna take the word committee, just leave it the way it is.
Change committee to board, please.
Okay. Okay, I can do that when I make the stuff up for Jeff. And then, do we want to make any of Donna's changes, or do we want to leave the letter as is, or Andrea, do you want to maybe look
So-
at the two?
To me, if it was just changing commas to sentence, that's up to Andrea if she wants. I don't care. It's a grammatical thing, I don't.
Yeah, I'll go through it again. And if I know that you mentioned at one point that there was I think at the very beginning I said a preserved farm remains your private property, or I said something that you mentioned maybe was duplicated farther down. I'll just do a once over and I'll check that verbiage around where we talked about the land being compensated financially and or provided the donation
So-
or whatever. I'll look through those couple things and maybe send it to you, Paul, to look over again.
So Kyle just had a nice sentence there on the brochure that addressed compensation and donation. Maybe copy that sentence because nobody seemed to object to it on Kyle's brochure.
Yeah, so Andrea,
Okay, that's a great idea.
yeah, and Andrea, if you, I don't know, Paul, you're going to be meeting with them at the next meeting, so you don't have to send it to Paul again. I hate to get Paul out of the loop, but if you just make it consistent and then send it to me on Monday or Tuesday so I could get it together is that okay with you, Paul?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll take care of that.
Because it sounds like the biggest issue that we need to overcome is the phone number. I guess the next other bigger issue that we're gonna probably have to address is how we're going to disseminate these and how we're gonna come up with a list. I had a proposal, Kyle and I kind of talked about it, and we were just wondering, is it something that we could get Paul to come up with a list? Because we're not allowed, I guess we're not supposed to be talking about this without it being on the record. I'm not sure. And I just don't know how we come up with a list without, I guess, airing people's personal business. So I'm just not sure how we address this, but is it possible would anybody be opposed to Paul coming up with a list?
Well, I'm going to work with Mary. I mean, Mary's got the
Yeah,
list.
with Mary.
So, you know, right.
Right, well, shouldn't you agree criteria? So you don't really need addresses. You should talk about, okay, what kind of properties are, is it so many acres? Is it, I don't know if acres is what would drive you, but is that what it is? Or is there a location that also has to be considered? So for example, is it for every 15-acre property or greater is something you would target? Now, only throwing that number out there, or does it have
Well,
to
we
be?
had talked about 10. The letter says 10. So we had been,
But
Well,
to,
Yeah, so just it doesn't, so you just because the letter says 10 doesn't mean it has to go to everybody who's 10 or over, right? It's just
right.
Yes.
So Donna, to answer your question, acres is the first priority.
right.
But if there's a 15-acre parcel and it's got a bunch of buildings on it and there's not much left to develop anyway because it's swampland, then I'm not going to target that.
Okay,
But
so
if
it's
there's a
bigger.
smaller parcel, 10-acre parcel, that's right next to Peacedale Preserve, and we could add to it, that would be appealing, right? Because it's very buildable, or I'm just making that up, by the way. I don't want anybody to think.
No,
I'm
yeah,
making-
I hear what you're saying. It's
no,
Yeah.
and there are some pieces, if you look at the map that Mary provided, there are some spots that might address that, like that can be contiguous to another piece of property.
Right. So it's not just you pick an acre and go over it. You have to look at each parcel. And then another one is, we know some of the landowners. We've approached them before. And some people are just adamantly opposed to any open space or preservation of their property. They don't want to hear from us. So we don't want to,
You're not going to antagonize.
ruffle their feathers, right? We want to make sure we exclude them and not annoy them with a letter.
That makes sense.
Okay, but does anybody on the pro board oppose Paul and Mary coming up with a list based on the most basic criteria?
Yeah. And then I would share it, but
Yeah, share it with everyone, but
we're just
obviously,
not allowed to discuss it.
right. Does that sound okay with everybody?
Fine with me.
Right, Paul, is that something that so part of me wants to see if you could possibly have that ready for the next meeting, but I also don't know that it's worth spending so much time to come up with that list if the letter is never going to pass and the brochure is never going to pass.
Hmm.
So I guess my suggestion would be to wait on that actual, but maybe just come up with the basic criteria with Mary for now.
All right. Yeah. I was hoping Mary was here and we could discuss it, but I didn't know she wasn't going to be here. So
Yeah,
I'll have
I
to
have
get
to
up with
hear
her.
from her. I hope everything's okay. Okay, so I think if we want to move along with that, and then because I'd hate for you to spend all this time and then we can't even get past the letter
Yeah.
or how we're going to get this sent out. All right, I think that's all for old business. So going on to new business, I was emailing back and forth with Greg, and he said that he is expected to return to the States in the next couple weeks, but he said he's not sure where in the States. So I guess my thing would be he might not even be returning to our area. So he wasn't very specific about that. But I think we've all kind of talked about waiting until he actually gets back, which may be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Does anybody, I have heard from some Board of Supervisor members who were saying that maybe we should just go ahead and replace him. Does anybody have any thoughts?
My comment is he was such a key member and a good leader that I would rather wait and see and know for sure that he's not coming back and then replace him. And then even if he lives nearby in Pike Creek or with his brother, he'd still be a good member to have because he's dedicated so much time to this. But And then
I
if
agree.
it's clear he's not coming back, I mean, if you're talking another month, I'd rather wait, even 2
Okay.
months, I'd rather wait. But
If he does come back and he's living in Washington State, though, I think we might. need to
yeah,
leave.
then it's clear. Yeah, then it's game over. Right. Then
Yeah.
he's made his
So,
choice and it's
I
clear.
mean,
we
I
have to
kind of
move
think
on.
if we were to say Maryland, Delaware, or Pennsylvania, he's okay. But it did seem like it might not be a relocation back to this area. It may be
Right.
to the
Right.
states in general. Now that he calls it the states because he's been abroad, it wasn't very specific. So he's the world traveler, and he's probably going to be listening to this tonight. So hi, Greg. So, okay. All right. So we're going to just wait on that until the next meeting. Hopefully we'll have an update by April.
We're
And
going
he's
to
been
cut
great.
down. We're going to cut down one tree every week he doesn't come back. No,
Like
I'm-
ransom, like hold him hostage.
Oh, I like that. I did put on Facebook that we were starting the garden volunteers to dedicate it to him.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so then the other thing I have for new business is the White Clay Creek spring cleanup. Paul, could you fill us in on that?
So I just emailed that to you all. I apologize I didn't email it earlier. Let me open it up. I think it was April 22nd. Or maybe it was March 22nd. Oh,
It's
boy.
usually by April 22nd for Earth Day.
Yes, April
does
22nd
say
at 9 o'clock, 9 to noon.
Okay, and that's set up by, I think by April Schmidt. Yeah, April Schmidt is the one who sent it to me, I think. And she does this cleanup every year and really has a good turnout, and they organize, they get a lot done. So I encourage anyone to join them, but also I thought maybe Jeff could put it on our website to advertise it a little bit better. And they're meeting this time on the Pennsylvania side down there by the Lemon Track Meeting House, I guess. It's on the link. There's a map and directions.
Okay, and that's April 22nd. And then Jeff, are you able to put that on the Facebook page for Franklin Township?
I am.
Thank you. Okay, so then do we need to talk about that anymore, Paul? It's just really a
No,
volunteer.
I just wanted to pass it along as a courtesy to April, and it's a good event.
Okay. So the next thing is May 6th. There's an event at White Clay Creek State Park. Jeff had said that Shane had reached out to him about setting up a table. Jeff, I could summarize it, but it might be easier if you just mention, kind of what she was looking for.
You're muted.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Jeff,
I don't have the email in front of me, Jennifer, so
Okay.
I can't give
Okay.
a good explanation for
I
it.
have-
That's
I have
why
I have some notes right
emailed
now.
it all to you.
Yeah, she's looking for someone to possibly set up a table at White Clay Creek State Park and kind of just, extol all these wonderful things that the Franklin Pro Board is doing. It would be something that would need to be manned for a couple hours. I didn't know if there was somebody who would be willing to take that on and kind of like chair it and be interested in it, but there are some codicils. I think we talked about this. It's not really even in our township. So, but if there were some talking points, I think that we'd have to have kind of those talking points cleared by the Board of Supervisors. So it would be kind of something that we would need to actually decide today. I guess we first need to decide, is it worth it? Second of all, is there somebody who wants to be responsible for it? And then third of all, we would need to decide, what do we need to get permission from the Board of Supervisors to present at that? Does anybody have any comment?
How does it really, I guess, maybe benefit us, right? If it's not in our township and
I feel like you read Paul's mind.
Is it just to bring awareness to our, to our trails? And in that case, I want people to enjoy them, but I don't want everyone from Delaware to come or wherever, right, to come in and I don't know. That's my question is, how does it really benefit us? And does it make,
I think
where our time should go?
Right. And that's would be a concern about the time. That would be obviously all of our concern and who would be responsible. The other concern would be, I think the one benefit is Shane has been good to us. So that would be something that, that we obviously want to, be respectful of the fact that Shane has really helped us out and has been really good to the pro board. That would be my only true thing that I think would be the most.
Yeah, Shane's group has funded or assisted with funding several of our preservation projects and several of our tree planting projects. So she's a leader of that White Clay Wild and Scenic group. But it's not clear to me if she's offering this table as a favor to us that we can advertise our group like others are going to advertise their groups. If that's the case, I don't see the benefit of us advertising because it's not in our township. And the chance that we find a resident who owns 20 acres and wants to preserve land there at Franklin Township or, in this meeting is very unlikely, right? So I don't think we'll.
Security awareness training.
What's that?
I think somebody had their volume, something.
All right, and then the other thought is, if it's a favor at us, well, I'd say, thanks, but we don't think there'd be a benefit. But if it's the opposite, if she's putting up this event, wants to have lots of tables there to make it a big deal, then, I'd feel more obligated to help her out. But I just don't know what we would present other than a table with some maps of our preserves or something, we don't have anything to sell.
Right. We don't
Can
have
we
any
get any
data.
more information from her about what the event is exactly? And is there any?
Well,
way we
Well,
can-
What's
and that's
the
what I was
email
going to ask.
say?
If I don't have it. I can pull it up. Hold on.
Is there a link in it or anything? Or
There is the link to register for the spot on the table. Yeah. So you have to fill it out. So I guess that's why I was going to ask if there was anybody who would be interested in kind of taking this on. It says, hold on, I'm looking for the actual attachment that she sent. I'm pretty sure Jeff sent it to everybody. It says, Jeff, I know the pro board is stretched thin, but I wanted to just throw this out there in case there was any interest. Our annual White Clay Creek Fest is Saturday, May 6th from noon to 4. So we would need somebody obviously to set up and be there from at least noon to 4, probably be there sooner. At White Clay Creek State Park, and I was wondering if the pro board would want to set up a table to talk about all the projects they are working on, as well as sharing information about the parks and trails in Franklin Township. May also be an opportunity to attract more volunteers, which is actually another huge benefit. The Friends of the New Gardens Trails have been coming for years, and now that Franklin Township has a similar group, I wanted to extend the invite to Franklin Pro. There's no cost to participate. We only ask that you share your passion for the natural or cultural resources with festival attendees, and then there is a registration. So it sounds like it's a favor to us, and being reciprocated to the Friends of the New Garden Trails.
Yeah, and it's true. There's people who love doing this trail work and volunteer work, and if we had a good organized group of volunteers, maybe they would join. That's possible.
Does anybody want to head this up?
I'm going to pass.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up a Saturday in May to maybe get a volunteer.
And my concern is I don't have that Saturday. I don't have certain kids' schedules yet. Okay. Well, I think we'll table this for now. If anybody decides that they think May 6th is open for them and they'd be willing to do it. I also reach out to Mary. Mary's not on the meeting. Maybe it'd be something that Mary would be interested in. If we were to do it and somebody decided that they could share it, would anybody be able to volunteer like an hour or two, or?
I'm unsure what my schedule is on May 6th with kids' sports and so forth, but if I could volunteer time,
Yeah, I mean,
it
that's
worked out for me. I mean, there's no reason I couldn't go. I'd be happy
Right.
to.
And I'm kind of the same. It's really hard to predict what May 6th is going to look like. The sports schedules are not out yet. So
Yeah.
I think, soccer, softball, baseball, track.
We have a volunteer raising his hand behind Andrea. I think he's looking to volunteer there.
I'm sure
pointing at you.
I'm sure he would go there, but
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to take him.
So can I share my screen, Jeff? Is that allowed? I have their website.
You've been made a co-host.
I'll just share it briefly here. how do I share? Share screen. There we go. Screen 2. So do you guys see White Clay Creek?
It is just a black screen that says you've started sharing.
It might just take a second to load.
Still nothing? I got the little spinning circle, so I think that's trying.
Oh, I think Paul knocked himself off by trying to use too much bandwidth.
I did. Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me again? All right, forget it. I'm not going to share.
Okay, yeah, I think it's just too much for your internet, but
Anyway, whiteclay.org, and they have a section called Creek Fest. It's got pictures from last year. You can look at it.
okay. Okay, I will probably send another note out on Monday, see if anybody has any major interest in it, and if not, I will. Jeff, would it be something that I should obviously send my apologies that if we don't get any volunteers for it on Monday?
Yeah. That'd be nice.
Jeff, are you okay if I send that out directly to her and just tell her we tried to get it to go, but we weren't sure?
Absolutely.
Okay, I will email her on Monday if I don't get any other takers. Okay, and so any information that anybody needs to get to the Board of Supervisors, if you could probably get it to me no later than Monday night so that I can include that. Jeff, was the write-up that I gave you and Heather, is that, we're new to this, so was that okay?
Yeah, good job.
Okay, so we're okay. All right, do we have any additional topics? Okay. Do we have any public comment? Okay, then I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all right.
That is fine.
And then just, I'm adjourning, but I just one more thing. So our next meeting then is scheduled then for April 5th. Does that sound good with everybody?
Yeah, is that the first Wednesday?
Yep. Okay, and we already have our Zoom links. Thank you very much, Jeff. All right, thank you. And Paul, if you just let me know if you could catch up with Mary, or hopefully she's okay.
Yeah, what do I have to do? I have to catch up with Mary and get a price on a little mini dozer for the